But I just knew at one point, you know, that big, but don't drop it. And in the end, as you say, I put it on. We were all right.
For any bride, her hair is just as important as her dress. Lino Carbosiero, at the exclusive Daniel Galvin salon in London, has done the hair at a number of royal events, as well as for Princess Diana. He has very clear ideas on how Catherine's hair should look on her wedding day.
I think the hairstyle's got to be something quite streamlined and detailed, but not overpowering. It mustn't be about the hair. It must be about her, her body, her face, and then everything else just... She's the picture, everything else is the frame. I've decided to go with this Spanish-styled señorita look. I think that because of the beauty of the face and the eyes and everything, I just think it should be off the face. I definitely feel that there'll be that sophistication, but that modernness with it. And I feel that there's got to be detail, and the detail needs to be at the back, because the front is going to be completely all about the tiara. She will wear a veil, and I think through the veil you want to see a little bit of intricacy, a little bit of detail. So you by combing a square section from where you want the tiara to start, you bring the hair lightly forward, okay? You don't hold it tight, you loosely hold that, slightly gripped, and you backcomb. Backcombing is basically pushing the comb down into itself, and while I'm doing that, I'm releasing some of the hair up there, and what that will do is just give you some scaffolding in there, okay? And that's now going to be that's going to be the supporting that, you see. So when I push that in and bring that forward, it's just going to give a little bit of detail behind the tiara, otherwise it would be just all one big tiara. The reason I've left this bit of hair out here is this bit of hair here is what's going to tie it up later. It's going to come round and just clean up any bits and bobs that I've left out, okay? With Kate, I think that if she just has a little bit more detailing put around the front of the style that she's got, yeah, we'll have a lot of people coming in and having the cape, without a doubt. Whatever she does now, from now on, even if she does a little bit slightly shorter fringe or a bit more layering, or if it comes up slightly, it'll be called the cape and everyone will want it. I'm really happy with that, and as you can see, I know you're wearing a shirt, but the minute I do that, look at the shape of the neck, the face. Look, I mean, it's a beautiful shape. For me, fit for a princess.
The wedding will be a huge day for Britain, with over 1 million people expected to line the parade route from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Abbey. But with the size of the event come real issues of security and threats from terrorists or just cranks. Ken Wharf was the personal bodyguard to the Princess of Wales and protected her and Prince William for nearly a decade.
To the left now we have Buckingham Palace, and there are 3 main gates at the palace, what is referred to as the North Centre and the South Centre, which are gates used on a daily basis by staff. But the North Centre gate, the gate in the middle, is the gate known as the ceremonial gate, which will be the gate that Prince William and Catherine will leave and begin their route now along the Mall here towards Westminster Abbey. I mean, security of any royal operation is always something that's taken, incredibly seriously. So you'll see, quite honestly, an operation here that's almost unprecedented in the sense that we can expect to see body scanners on the route, and there will be some serious checking of individuals on the route itself. It won't be just turn up and be a free-for-all. because the risk would be too great. But the actual route itself is small enough in the scale of things to give this as near as 100% security as possible. Just imagine this route we're on now, that, you know, there are probably between 6-10 deep of people all the way down this way, all the way down the Mall here. And it's estimated that on the streets of London alone, there will be millions rather than thousands. The police now have to prepare for this. The greatest saviour, in a sense, is that Scotland Yard, the Metropolitan Police, have a real checked, trusted track record on this, in the sense that we police major events, ceremonial events and world events. So I have no doubt in my mind that given the complications of this, that the Yard will come up with the goods on the day. Of that I'm absolutely certain. Ahead of me now, the Westminster, Palace of Westminster, the House of Commons, and my right-hand side now, crowds already outside number 10 Downing Street itself, guarded by the Raillingham Police, and that's where the Prime Minister is. And then this is really the closing stages of the journey from Buckingham Palace. And now, as you can see, the Westminster Abbey here, and the procession would slow down here to do a left turn in front of the west door. So the carriage would stop here and then process through to the west door of the Abbey.
The royal family will travel to and from Westminster Abbey in a fleet of carriages from the Royal Mews. Barry Luck has been a carriage driver for over 30 years and has driven at many royal events.
The royal family will be using carriages, and this would be their transport. Country as well, they'd use them out in the country to go to church and that sort of thing. There's a good lads. The vehicle is suspended on leather straps, which are called C-springs, so it's a chassis and a body which are separate, and it does float about. So there is a motion sickness can happen, yes. With a carriage like this, there would have often been a rail across here with spikes on it to stop the urchins getting on the back. And if an urchin was riding, sitting on the axle, somebody from on the pavement would shout, "Whip behind," and the coachman would whip behind to try and knock them off the back of the carriage. These are 10 and 11-year-old Polish horses, and we've had them from youngsters, bred them for the job, and they're very good in London traffic. They will put up with most things. With his people about, they certainly do show off, yes. I think they can sense an occasion, and they often work and play to the people that are there. As you can see, this is fairly tight in here. People were smaller in those days, so 4 people would have sat in there comfortably, where now it is a little bit more of a struggle. And to get a wedding dress in through there, it is tight. Everything has to be perfect on the day. There isn't any margin for error. It's rehearsed, even to the person putting the blocks on the wheels to stop it moving when they're getting in. It is rehearsed to perfection, so they just cannot go wrong. They mustn't go wrong.
The wedding reception at Buckingham Palace will be a lavish affair. The very finest china, silverware and crystal, all set up and served with military precision.
I think the thing about going to Buckingham Palace is that you are absolutely overawed by all the things around you. They're very, very big rooms with high ceilings, and the most magnificent collection of pictures, magnificent collections of china. And that's when you see the measuring of the table, you know, so that each place is so many inches away from the next place, and that people aren't sort of elbowing each other out because, you know, they're too crushed in.
The table settings upstairs are, they've got to be absolutely perfect. First of all, the table has to be polished, and everything is laid down absolutely obsessively, and it's measured with a ruler, and everything is absolutely perfect.
And I'm not saying it's all sort of hugely over-gilded or anything like that, but I mean, they have got beautiful collections of china and beautiful centerpieces of things to put on buffet tables, of wonderful silverware or even giltware. You've got the sense of occasion just by walking through those doors.
party in the evening, well, you know, William probably wants to have an absolute knees up and get all his favourite rappers there and things. But I think it is given by his father, Prince Charles, so I think it will probably be stadish. But, you know, who knows, when you've got those boys there, you know, the place will probably rock like it's never rocked before.
It's up to the kitchens at Buckingham Palace to serve a buffet-style meal to the 600 guests at the reception. Graham Newbold was a royal chef for over a decade and has created his own classic menu for the occasion.
The start is going to be quenelles of brill to Harry. That's with lobster sauce, white wine sauce, asparagus spears, and medallion of lobsters. And the first thing I have to do is prepare the lobster. The royal family like plain sort of food, really fresh stuff, like salmon caught from Balmoral, and fresh lamb and things like that. They don't like anything that's been processed with E numbers or anything like that. This dish is the actual first course for Prince Charles and Princess Diana's wedding, way back in 1981. The royal family aren't really fussy eaters. They can go out any time and get flashy food, but they don't want that. There's no need for that. This is a fillet of brill, very nice fish, similar to turbot, but a little bit smaller. Quite expensive, but lovely flavour. There are 20 chefs that work at Buckingham Palace. Most of them are English. That's probably because the royals like English food. They've been there like a long time, like over 20 years. What I'm trying to do here is build up layers of flavour. The next to go in will be the garlic. So, all that lovely flavour. The kitchens at Buckingham Palace are absolutely massive. And I suppose they've got to be to accommodate 20 chefs. But very, very well equipped, modern and spotless. Put in about a third of a bottle. When working for the royals, everything is regimented down to the second. The pieces of brill, put them in the food processor. So these are called quenelles. If you did the same shape with ice cream, it would be called rocher. And the royal family love both, really. This dish is a classical dish invented by Auguste Escoffier. When you're a chef at Buckingham Palace, you need to be a really good all-rounder. You need to be able to make anything, really. Fish, pies, roasts, desserts, afternoon teas, breakfasts. So it's not that easy. William sometimes used to come into the kitchen and have a bit of a carry-on and start throwing golf balls at me, and I just sort of had to put him right, really. This is one of the favourite dishes of the Queen. That's probably why it's been chosen for such a special occasion. And there we have quenelle of brill to Paris. Also a nice bit of lobster garnish and some asparagus. I'm now preparing the potatoes for the rack of lamb à la du Barry. These are what's known as chateau potatoes. They have 7 sides, and it's a classic potato, invented again by Escoffier. Her Majesty is absolutely fantastic. No airs and graces. She has such an aura about her when she walks in the room, and can do nothing but respect her. I mean, she's really, really great. I'm going to put the lamb in the oven now
But first I'm going to drain the fat off and use it for my potatoes. There we go. That should take approximately 10 minutes.
When you're doing a big function, like a state visit or a wedding, I mean, there is quite a bit of stress on it, because you've got to realise that, I mean, most of the world is watching, and you can't make any mistakes. It is a little bit stressful.
This is a classic dish. There we go. Rack of lamb à la Dubarry, fit for a prince and a princess.
So after a day of pomp and ceremony, of massive crowds and huge feasts, it will be time for the newly wedded Prince William of Wales and Princess Catherine to head off on honeymoon and start their new life together.
I don't think one can have a better ambassador than a gorgeous young couple, which William and Kate are. I think they will be fantastic ambassadors for this country.
Kate will be a breath of fresh air for the monarchy. She's very comfortable in her own skin and very stable, and she's not going to embarrass them by selling her story or talking to reporters and briefing them about things going on behind the scenes.
Kate will become a complete and utter superstar. Everywhere she goes, she's going to be photographed. Her clothes are already copied. Her look, her hair, her shoes, what she says. People will hang on to her every word.
I think that they are going to be the most solid royal couple we've had since the Queen and Prince Philip. I definitely think so. They are completely in love, dedicated to each other. They mesh well together, they work well together, and I think they both have the same personalities, but above all, they're very normal.
I think William and Kate can conquer the world. I think every country in the world will want them as guests and to come and see them, and the crowds will be as big as it was for Charles and Diana.
They've got more pressure on them than almost any other royal couple before them, because obviously the Queen has had 3 out of her 4 children divorcing. So the pressure on William to make this work is unbelievable. I think it will work. I really believe it will. And I personally obviously wish them the very best of luck, but by God, it's going to be a tough job.
This was the moment they'd all been waiting for. The kiss that said it all. Prince William and his bride, the new Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, sent the crowds into a frenzy as they sealed their marriage with a very public show of love. 1 million people had converged on Buckingham Palace to share their happiness. 2 billion people were watching around the world. It was a day that brought a smile to everyone's face. Outside Westminster Abbey, the crowds had begun to gather from early morning. Some hardy souls had spent the past 3 nights camping out to ensure they had the best possible view.
I've been to their wedding to Queen when she was a youngster. I've followed up with Princess Diana, Margaret, and I'm here today for William. I believe in the royal family.
Oh, I'm here just to experience the whole thing, see the pomp and the circumstance, and, you know, just to be here and get the feeling of the crowd and the excitement. I love it.
Everyone wanted a ringside seat as Prince William finally tied the knot with Catherine Middleton, the girl he'd met and fallen in love with almost 10 years earlier. A mile or so away, in a luxury suite at the Goring Hotel, the bride and her family were getting ready. Around the corner at Buckingham Palace, the rather grey early morning revealed a quiet calm. But behind the palace walls, the well-oiled machinery of an occasion such as this was already in action. Outside the palace and down the Mall, the crowds who'd spent the night in makeshift tents were beginning to stir. The mood was one of growing excitement at the prospect of the pageantry and partying that was to follow. The doommongers who had predicted that no one would care about the royal wedding were about to be proved comprehensively wrong. At the Abbey, everything was now in place. At William and Catherine's request, 8 imposing trees, maples and hornbeams, had been brought in from the royal estates to mark their route up the aisle. In the splendour of this 1,000-year-old royal peculiar, as it's known, meaning that it's neither a cathedral nor a parish church, 38 sovereigns have been crowned, including, of course, our present Queen. And this was to be the 16th royal wedding to be held at Westminster Abbey. The Queen herself was married here, as was her mother and her sister Margaret. By 9 o'clock, the first of the 1,900 guests had begun to arrive. With roads around the whole area sealed off, they'd been asked to allow plenty of time to get to the Abbey. And this was certainly an occasion that no one wanted to miss. All of them felt privileged to be there to witness a moment in history, the marriage of our future king to a girl who'll one day be Queen Consort. The ushers would have their work cut out, seating 1,000 family and friends of the bride and groom, 50 members of the British royal family, 40 foreign royals, 60 governors-general and prime ministers from around the world, and some 200 diplomats and government officials. 80 representatives from Prince William's charities were also amongst those invited to the society event of the decade. And of course, the fashion stakes were high. Everyone had put in a huge amount of effort, some with more success than others. The fashion expert James Sherwood was among those who cast a critical eye over the results.
The press were sometimes less than kind, but I actually think the occasion was incredibly well dressed. As far as British millinery is concerned, I think the royal wedding has demonstrated that the hat is, if not making a comeback, it's certainly triumphant. And actually what we did see in Westminster Abbey were hats that take a lot of, I don't know, it takes a lot of poise to wear these hats, and it takes a lot of commitment, you know. When one looks at the Queen, formal day dress is the Queen's working wardrobe, but for 90% of the women in the Abbey, this was an exception to a rule, and something that they really had to rise to the occasion, and they certainly did. It's rather nice for me to see an occasion like the royal wedding where the uniforms are perfect, the mourning tales are perfect, and the ladies have made a terrific effort. We read from the invitation that it was mourning tales, lounge suits and uniforms were all acceptable, but it's rather nice to see that the chaps came down in favour of uniform and mourning tales. And also, you know, we see a lot of RAF uniform because Prince William's currently serving with the RAF in emergency search and rescue. I think what stood out for me at the royal wedding, that it was just lovely to see well-dressed people who know exactly what they're doing, they know how to behave, they're dressed in their best. And you can see waving the Dowager Duchess of Devonshire, Deborah Mitford, the last of the Mitford sisters, with her daughter-in-law, the present Duchess of Devonshire. I always love to see the dowagers because they're almost like galleons sailing forth in the Abbey. It's heaven for me to see, you know, all the pearl chokers with the amethyst clasps and all the classic British family jewels coming out, and see the chaps make the best of themselves too, because I defy any woman to say that a man doesn't look very handsome in a morning coat, especially if it's cut by Savile Row. And Prince Harry's beau, Chelsea Davy, from Cape Town, looking terribly Cape Town, in a sort of Alberta Ferretti cocktail dress, which is almost off the shoulder, almost as acceptable. Off the shoulder is absolutely not, particularly for Westminster Abbey. She's wearing quite a dinky little, it's almost like a button of a hat, designed by Victoria Grant, who I believe is also a favourite of the Duchess of Cambridge.
William and Catherine had been careful not to make this a celebrity event, but a handful of their famous friends were invited. Among them, David and Victoria Beckham.
I think David Beckham's made many a heart swoon as he walked up the Abbey with the new hairstyle, the Elvis, the quiff. Unusual to see a cravat. Mr. Beckham pulls this off, of course, with his usual style. He's wearing Ralph Lauren, almost bespoke, made to measure, I think we'd call it. Mrs. Beckham had the dress for the Victoria Beckham label. A lot of the press thought it was black and made appropriate comments, saying that, you know, she looked as though she was in mourning. It's not, it's a midnight blue silk. She is pregnant, and I think she looks absolutely magnificent.
Elton John was there.
I thought it was rather marvellous that the lion's share of the chaps in the Abbey actually wore mourning tales. I mean, even Sir Elton John and his partner David Furnish.
The film director Guy Ritchie is a friend of both William and Catherine.
And here we have Guy Ritchie, who's played it incredibly safe, wearing a terribly traditional black morning coat with the pinstripe trouser and the grey waistcoat. Grey or buff waistcoats are really the form for formal day dress, but at the wedding we did see these wonderful, quite bright yellow waistcoats that seemed to set a fashion. It was terrific to see. We know that the Queen has let it be known that she rather likes morning coats to be buttoned. She doesn't like them to be left unbuttoned.
Tara Palmer Tompkinson, an old family friend, seemed intent on making quite a fashion statement.
And the socialite Tara Palmer Tompkinson in this electric blue number that really is off the shoulder, and this sort of boat-shaped hat that points directly down on her nose. It's a very similar shape to Princess Eugenie's, both designed by Philip Tracy. In fact, one would go so far as to say that Philip Tracy probably had a patent on the entire wedding.
Ben Fogle, the TV presenter and adventurer, made a documentary with William in Africa and has since become a friend. For his heavily pregnant wife, Marina, the biggest worry of the day was that she would go into labour.
Ben Fogle, the television presenter, a very popular sight in the Abbey. I do love that sort of crazy public school hair. Other nationalities would think it looked a bit sloppy, but actually to the Brits that's perfectly pucker.
Also among the guests at the Abbey, the journalist Tom Bradby, who's known the couple for some time and who was invited to conduct their engagement interview. His wife, Claudia, is a jewellery designer, and she once worked with Catherine. The Prime Minister, David Cameron, wore traditional morning dress, but his wife, Samantha, surprised fashion pundits by choosing to go hatless.
The green Burberry dress I did think looked absolutely appropriate. Wouldn't it have been so much better to have seen a hat with that ensemble?
The Deputy Prime Minister, Nick Clegg, and his wife, Miriam, played it safe.
It was interesting that all the British politicians dithered about wearing mourning tails because I thought it would possibly make them look slightly upper class. Actually, it just makes you look terribly well dressed, as in the case of Nick Clegg, the leader of the Liberal Democrat Party and the Deputy Prime Minister. Sir John Major dresses to prove why he absolutely did belong in the Abbey in an immaculate black mourning coat, and you notice the British gentlemen always mismatch, and so Sir John Major, we see the sort of baby blue tie, the very faded pink shirt and the grey waistcoat. It's actually spot on, totally correct. And it's always rather nice to see the foreign royals out in full force. The King of Tonga is an incredibly popular figure. You notice that he wore a double-breasted mourning coat. It's almost more cut like a frock coat, which is most unconventional, but actually it dates back to the Edwardian era.
The last great occasion to be held in the Abbey was the funeral of the Queen Mother in 2002. And 5 years earlier, the Abbey had been the venue for one of the most traumatic events in Prince William's life, the funeral of his mother, Diana, Princess of Wales. But now his friends, colleagues and family were gathering for a day that signalled a new and bright chapter in William's life. But a day when, no doubt, his mother's absence will be felt more poignantly than ever. Grand royal occasions like this are timed to the minute, and at 10:10, the crowds outside Clarence House knew that William was about to set out on his final journey as a single man. A burgundy Bentley, polished to perfection, rolled out of the gates. At last, the real show was about to get on the road. And what a show it was. Prince William looked distinguished in the famous red uniform of the Irish Guards, of which he's an honorary colonel. Having served with the Army, Navy and the RAF, he was eligible to wear any of their ceremonial uniforms, but he chose the Guards' striking red tunic with his blue garter sash and star and his RAF wings.
And we see Prince William looking rather dashing in the uniform of an honorary colonel in the Irish Guards. It had been rumoured for months that he would be wearing an RAF uniform tailored by Geeves and Hawkes of Savile Row. This would have been in keeping because his great-grandfather, the late King George VI, wore RAF uniform and had permission from George V to wear it because it's not the uniform of the senior service.
Prince Harry, his best man, looked equally dashing in the uniform of a captain of the Household Cavalry, Blues and Royals.
Prince Harry, tailored by Dijon Skinner, is wearing the uniform of the Blues and Royals. He and his brother were painted for a National Portrait Gallery piece 2 years ago in the form of the Blues and Royals, so it was rumoured that both of the chaps would wear the same uniform. I think it's rather wise that Prince William chose instead to wear the Irish Guards.
For some of the more stalwart royal fans who'd spent the night on a hard, cold London pavement, this was their second encounter with the princes. A handful had been able to chat with them the night before, when William and Harry had suddenly come out of Clarence House to thank the crowds for their support and good wishes. This was very much part of the younger generations steering a new course. Later, it was revealed that Harry and William had made the decision on a whim and caught their press office by surprise. Now, as he made his way to the Abbey, to a crescendo of cheers, William might well have been feeling more than the few nerves he'd admitted to the night before. "All I have to do is get my lines right," he'd told the crowds. An obvious reference to his parents' own wedding, when they'd both fluffed their lines. The reality of his wedding day, though, was proving that this was truly a global event. People had come from all over the world to watch the procession and join in the celebrations. As the princes approached Horse Guards, the band of the Coldstream Guards salute. One day it will fall to William as sovereign to take the salute here at the annual Trooping the Colour parade.
Okay, boys.
Okay, sister, I did a good thing. Behave yourself, please.
Okay.
Where is the camera?
So, yeah, change it.
Michael!
Victoria!
Oh, yeah. Doing that to me.
Okay.
Be organized, okay?
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
Listen, I'm in charge, okay? After Uncle.
Then it's me. Where are we going?
So, everybody listen.
Yay.
If you want to have a good
No,
time.
I want to go home. But we're going on the tour now. Yes.
Sorry, what, you want this one open?
Yeah, please.
Right, it's not opening.
Driver, are we going on the tour
Uncle's
now?
on the one, can I talk with you, please?
Thank you.
No, you can't. Can I stop with you, please? Stop what? Don't take me, please. It's too close.
Let's sit on her brother's lap.
Who's what? Who's upset? What's going on?
Why? It doesn't matter.
Sorry, what's going on?
It doesn't
Go
matter.
and sit with your brother. Go and sit. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, go and sit. I don't want it.
Okay. So
Leave her. Stay quiet. Where do I sit? Just keep quiet. Be careful, your hair's out the window. Oh, what are you doing? Man in this dress. I'm making man in this dress. See, you're telling me to not be rude. What's she doing?
No, I'm joking with you. Victoria, I'm joking with you. You can't take jokes. Sit back a minute.
But he's gonna wee on himself.
Who needs to go to the toilet?
No one.
Alright, who's drinking in excess?
What's excess?
Drinking too much.
Who's drinking too
I
much?
haven't had any.
Okay,
I'm gonna
sorry. Who's that little boy there? Could someone get him and put him on the lap so you can move down a bit more, please?
I told his brother that he stopped shouting.
It's okay.
Please. I really need
You don't need your one in Coventry.
I need to go toilet.
Okay, well, when we stop, yeah, you're a big girl, you can hold yourself.
What do you think? She'll wait on you. I've got 5 layers of things against me. Thank you.
Don't make a mess. Don't make a mess. Hey, no, put it back. Put it back. Put it back.
I told you. Can I have some apple juice?
Victor, put that orange apple back.
That's not my fault. And if it splashes. Oh, no, man! Be quiet.
Pass that apple juice, put it back.
I wanted to.
No, put it back.
What?
You don't even know if it's off or not.
What are you doing? What is? No, she said Tiara.
No, I'm outside by the window, I can't sit here. Where are we going?
We're going to you.
Wait, no, we're going all the way. We're going on the ride.
But I started for a trick.
What's wrong? No, Victoria, please don't act like a diva. What do you want?
And on your left, you will see a bus going past. And on your left, you will see a house with a good car. Oh, get off me! I'm not playing at this. I
Where's the apple juice?
I know I did. Everybody try to test it. No. Everybody. No.
Oh.
There's 3. That's 4. Oh, the drunk people. No, you don't say. Anywhere else. Look at the car. Look at the car.
Relax.
Victor. Let's make it easy.
Hey, are you pooing? Are you pooing?
No.
She is.
Are you pooing?
I can smell it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, she's got it.
You don't know that.
I can smell it.
Are you pooing?
No.
Are you eating?
She is baby. We need to stop.
Good girl. Yeah? Good girl. No poo, yeah? No poo.
Do not mess this up, okay? You carry some people. Exactly. What about you, Victor? Let your brother sit on you, alright? Yeah.
Sorry, am I hurting you, darling? I'm sorry.
You just don't want to have a oh, that's your excuse. Ow, ow, ow. Is it so heavy to carry?
Who said that? Shut up. Who said that?
I'll kill you one day.
Oi! Pack it in. That was hard. Funny.
Change your laughter. I'm telling her to be with the change. You have to change the X-Bar. You said
Victor, pack that in. Okay. This is the last time I'm going to have to talk.
Tw 10, 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, roughly 15 minutes. So, just come out, Bruiser, and then you get back to you. We're going to queue up. We're going to queue up. So, hold hands. Wait. You get the back to the school. Hold hands. Hold hands. Hold hands. No, that's just let you fasten yourself. Hold hands. No, hold hands. Hold hands. Hold hands. Quickly. Okay, could you stand here and watch this? Success! No! 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 Hold hands. Hold hands. Hold hands. Hold hands. Hold hands. Hold hands. You think hold hands? I don't care. Can you come up quickly?
It's not leading, it's not
Okay, listen. I need two hands up. How many about in a line. In a line. Go. Take your chair.
Let them know, I'll be here in 20 minutes, yeah? 20 minutes.
15,
okay.
I'm falling back. Oh! Okay, everyone get together. Sing now. Only when we go back for this. Then I run around in the air balloon.
success, is it Teresa or?
Success, look at the camera. Smile. Come on. Yay. Beautiful.
want toilet? A little bright.
Can someone pass me the water? Before we go away, we have to cut the cake.
Yeah.
I'm not having none of that. I'm not having that cake that she had. I'm having the chocolate one. Me too.
I have one. But who likes icing? Who's kicking my ass? You can have my cake. Who likes icing? Because my cake has icing. Where's your foot? Who doesn't like icing? There your foot is now. You don't like icing? I'll kick you. Don't kick that out. Yeah, I can't. But you can take the icing off. If you have too much icing, how old are you? 5. I wish I could carry you. Is there any more drink? Is the apple juice finished? No.
Can I have the glass, please? Can I have some?
I can't. Get off my toe. I don't want a glass, I want one of them. It's stuck in my foot. Can I have water? So lucky. If there's apple juice, can I have it? No, you got success gets a sip. Oh, what are you doing? Oh!
Put the glasses back in that thing, please.
When we are coming back, all the boys will stay at home.
Yay! Boys!
All the boys will stay at home.
Thank you! There we go now. Thank you! You're my squad.
No,
A little
put
bit.
it around.
To my toe. Why would you let me sit down?
Sit down.
You sit down, but don't sit down. Well, look how much I got. Please.
Don't murder right there.
My back's a little bit stuck. Yeah, you're talking about your leg stop, man. Someone got murdered by there.
Don't be murdered, man. You got killed.
I know why. Oh, why can't we have a little bit? My toes are getting crucified right here. My toes are getting squashed to death. Why can't we have a... Oh no, just get off my foot now. I said get off my foot. I am successful. This girl is with her high heels squashing my leg. Please.
Be quiet.
Don't me, Victor. I'm not your chair. Get off.
You're the best ever human chair.
That's it. Don't poke me in the eye. You shut up. You're gonna put that in, bro. No, I'm not even talking to her. She's talking to me really nice. What? It's the reason I want to say it's just to you. You want to be trying. Exactly. You've got big mouth.
You've got chicken lips.
Chickens don't have lips. Am I your brother? The stump on my toe. You know everything. Put this away, boy. You're the lunch school. His legs are cold. A claw leg. I'm gonna smack the cat on someone's lips if they know me quiet, man. What I do? I'm gonna slap them. I said, Victor, man, you're just the one that's picking it about. Ah!
west, north, and south. Come on, rise up on your feet and let's give God praise. Hallelujah! Amen.
How's your morning? Is it alright, yeah? Okay.
Now, where's your dress?
You don't know this one.
No, I don't
You see how confused
I haven't seen this baby.
It happened to Mama.
I brought your son on here at 11 o'clock, 10. I want now. Give one, I don't know, Rapper. You know, I'm coming back. I'm not one now. No more than this year with the John and Jimmy now. Come back, I get the proper cake. You know, because I don't got her. You got out there because only was in at 11 o'clock.
Why? I just wanted to see Nicholas and anyone.
Victoria, all this is being recorded.
You better pull your veil.
I can't do it.
Oh, what is it?
poetry in it.
How come she got high heels and you haven't? How come she got high heels and you haven't? And you're still the same. I thought she would be bigger than you. If she has to be more bigger than you,
Her shoes aren't that high though, are they?
No, exactly. No. I need to hold time.
Okay, Joe, would you like to untie her hair? Don't be naughty.
I'm afraid.
Oh, Joe can do it.
No,
Joe, would you like to untie her hair for her?
No. Oh yeah, sorry.
Why don't you sit down and she'll do it for you?
Okay.
I do.
No, you're too young for that. You've got your own now.
So my friend likes for you.
Who? Nine.
No, Victoria.
Victoria, how old is Ellie? Ellie. 10.
And she has fake now.
Yeah.
That's good.
But she's this small.
Well, you've got to get the change.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's a big.
Uncle, can you put this on your pen?
Sure.
No, on here. My neck.
Yeah, I know.
The first one.
What have you done with the roof? Okay. Yeah, but won't you drop again? It's not.
It's because I can put it in.
Okay, I've seen that. Maybe you can pull it
No!
back. It shouldn't drop off. And I think I have to do the other way around. Then, so I can see. So that's
It's very improved in a beautiful way here today. With our parents, catechism, teachers, teachers and friends who have preparing for this special day. We thank you for joining us and for your prayers and love today and throughout the year.
So if you can do me a favor, yeah? Quickly cut like this. About 20 of them, yeah?
Okay.
Bring it in.
Bring my bag. My bag.
I mean, it's good lady. Anybody in love with God, I like it. That's a good smile.
Yes. On your face now.
Victoria, look at the camera.
It's out. Leave it. I'll do it. Dance, yeah.
Oh, the shoe is. The video looks good.
Yes. Hey, look at
And they've even got TV. They've even got TV.
Where is sunset?
We need like a red carpet for her to walk on.
No, come on, wait.
Go in. Yeah, come.
Do your bag.
There, Teresa. I got tired.
Stay with you. Let them go. Me, I'm quite busy. Let me go and grab my car. Careful, don't match your name. Go.
Your car will
Enter, enter.
Your car will
What is that?
Okay.
Hello, I was just thinking around for that. They have one number. That's after. It's not that I know you're a good lady.
Frida, can you stop me? Try controlling it.
Come and do it then. Controlling get the TV. Forget about TV. It's on now. TV you have to be controlled. It's not on. Not here.
Okay. Success, click it again. Can you do it?
When you click it, you leave it. Just click it.
I remember when we were in Labour last time and we were watching Home and Away.
Hey. Oh my name, you didn't watch nothing. You know.
So the other team, well, it kind of was working. You could
Can you come and sit here? So he will sit.
I know what the movie.
There's light. What light?
Does he know the way? Yeah, the way is
Also,
going.
my entrance.
Oh, you open.
Come.
Oh, one knows that then.
There's the prison.
Not yet.
My collar. My collar. Full of people. United.
You know,
What's the interior?
I'm
trying to
do you know?
Is this the right way? Yeah. This way. You have to slide this way.
Figure by the side.
By the side, like that.
Just one of.
No.
Okay, but okay, yeah, the time.
That's the real American.
American dude. It's ridicule.
How did you do your sister's own then? Is
Go
it
take a change jacket one room.
Okay.
It doesn't go like them buses.
What is the fancy now? I don't mind. What the one here? Very expensive. I got one here. Yeah. What get GJ? In Nigeria, I get GJ not one.
Just a long walk.
Hey, I go January or small money. This time around. Hey, okay, one these days.
Oh, you may
give me a logo.
Of course, now depends when you be now.
Okay.
You can take the shortcut. You can take the shortcut, which is that way there, and then come in. If you open that white thing there, you'll see apples. It's just being cold.
Yeah.
It's being cold.
Yeah.
What?
Is it fridge? Where is it going?
Let's go.
Where is it going?
It's a long car.
It's a very long labor.
I don't know how they made it right. Hey.
Trailer cartoon myself, so we can depend.
Well, wahala.
The bomb and money in there.
On the head, Victor. On the head.
I don't hear this in Oh, aha.
And then
About 50. And what I go, I leave. I tell the queen when she wanted me, I'll be here. Give me 10 minutes before I start somewhere. I go back down, I park somewhere that side. You know where I did it, I park somewhere.
You park somewhere down there?
Yeah, we are done. I park right here.
No, you better be close. Because it's too far for you. Do your leg.
Yeah, it is.
You saw me. No, I asked her. She didn't see me. She tried to turn but couldn't make it.
Can I have the...
Oh, they got one.
Yeah.
Uchechi! Can you people come down? You sit back here!
Last one there's a British.
Let's go to this side.
No, father. Stay quiet now.
Nice haircut.
And all the children come out. Everybody, all the children. Where is your friend you say you invited? Everybody. All the children now, where is Frida? Joanna? Come here again. Are you sure you go to Kurupa?
Oh, we going in Is that how you got here? Okay, tell anyone here.
I can't believe I have to take for you.
We knew the way. I know.
This thing not flash, you know. Yeah, you not flash. Oh, yeah, smile. Smile. Come on.
Okay, boys.
Where's Nana Kitty?
Then come.
Okay, sister, and I did. Okay, I just say, put this thing, behave yourself, please.
Okay.
Where is the camera?
Sorry. Yeah, change it.
Michael!
Victoria.
Doing that to me.
Okay.
Be organized, okay?
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
Listen, I'm in charge, okay? After Uncle.
Then it's me. Where are we going?
So, everybody listen.
Yay.
If you want to have a good
No,
time.
I want to go home. But we're going on the tour now. Yes.
Sorry, what, you want this one open?
Yeah, please.
But it's not opening.
Driver, are we going on the tour
Uncle's
now?
on the one, can I swap with you, please?
Thank
what?
you.
No, you can't. Can I swap with you, please? Swap what? Don't take me, please. It's too close.
Let us sit on her brother's lap.
Who's what? Who's upset? What's going on?
Quiet, it doesn't matter. Just
Sorry, what's going on?
It doesn't
Go
matter.
and sit with your brother. Go and sit. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, go and sit. I don't want it.
Okay. So
Leave her. Stay quiet. Where do I sit? Just keep quiet, please. Be careful, your hair's out the window. Oh, just what are you doing? Man in this dress. I'm making man in this dress. See, you're telling me to not be rude. What's she doing?
No, I'm joking with you. Victoria, I'm joking with you. You can't take jokes. Sit back a minute.
But he's gonna wee me on himself.
Who needs to go to the toilet?
No.
Oh, who's drinking in excess?
What's excess?
Drinking too much.
Who's drinking too much?
Had any.
Okay, sorry. Who's that little boy there? Could someone get him and put him on a lap so you can move down a bit more, please?
I told his brother that he stopped shouting.
Success,
please. I really need
You don't need your one in Coventry.
I need a toilet.
Okay, well, when we stop, yeah, you're a big girl, you can hold yourself.
What do you think? He'll weigh on you. I've got 5 layers of thinking and deep. Who wants this? Thank you.
Don't make a mess. Don't make a mess. Hey, no, put it back. Put it back. Put it back.
I told you. Can I have some apple juice?
Victor, put that orange apple back.
And if it splashes. Hey, man! Be quiet.
Pass that apple juice, put it back.
I wanted to.
No, put it back.
What?
You don't even know if it's off or not.
What are you doing? What is? No, she said Ciara.
No, I'm not a video, I can't sit here. Where are we going?
We're going home.
Wait, no. We're going all around. We're going on the ride.
But I saw it for trick.
What's wrong?
No,
Victoria, please don't act like a diva. What do you want?
And on your left, you will see a bus going past. And on your left, you will see a house with a good car. Oh, get off me!
Where's the apple juice?
Everybody try to test it. No. Everybody.
Oh.
There's three. That's three. Oh, the drunk people. No, you don't say. But I can't put it anywhere else. Look at the car. Look at the car.
Relax.
King's Cross. Look, King's Cross. We're here. Let's make it easy.
Hi, are you pooing? Are you pooing?
No.
Are you pooing?
I can smell it.
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, she's done it.
You don't know that.
I can smell it.
Are you pooing?
No.
Are you eating?
She is a baby. We need to stop.
Good girl. Yeah? Good girl. No poo, yeah? No poo.
Do not mess this place up, okay? You carry some people. Exactly. What about you, Victor? Let your brother sit on your lap. Yes.
Sorry, have I hurt you, darling? I'm sorry.
You just don't want to have Oh, that's your excuse, isn't it? Ow, ow, ow. Is it so heavy to carry?
Who said that? Shut up. Who said that? Oi! Pack it in. That was hard. That's funny. Victor, pack that in. This is the last time I'm going to have to talk.
Tw 10, 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Okay, let's do 15 minutes. So, just come out, Frida, and then you're going to back here. We're going to queue up. You're going to queue up. So hold hands. Wait. Can you go at the back of the school, please? Hold hands. Hold hands. Hold hands. No, I said to let you pass yourself. Hold hands. No, hold hands. Hold hands. Hold hands. Quickly. Put up hands. You not come out. Okay, could you stand here? Success! No. No.
I'll be here in 20 minutes, yeah? 20 minutes.
20.
15, okay.
I'll do it. Come. No. This is what I did.
did I get on the I'm falling back. Oh! Okay, everyone get together. Sing now. Only when we got back from this one. Then I run around in the air balloon. I think Happy go higher. I'm dashing. Everyone's doing it by the way. We will go there. I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to this time. It's me. I'm not going to this time. No. This is embarrassing. And you want to wait until I go. Okay, okay, lovely. Success.
Success. Is it Teresa or?
Success, look at the camera. Smile. Come on. Yay. Beautiful. You get back from that next. Shut up! If you're the one stuck in there, you can't say bang. Oh, yes.
I don't care.